let your breath be felt as it moves to your nostrils and into your body. And notice its natural rhythm as it comes into the body. There's a pause. And then as you exhale, and another pause. And notice if it feels smooth, raggedy, hesitant. Just calm the breath down. Give permission that the field be totally encapsulated in secure channels from the sun. That secured energy from home as it has moved through the sun is recalibrated for our vibrancy, for our support, for our remembrance. It is our bodysuit that gives us the authority to speak and design here. So just breathe it, that energy of home throughout the entire region we call physical body. Foundationing health, vibrancy, wellness. Those vibrations extending into the mental region, the emotional body region, and the frequencies of what we call spiritual, all aligned as if nose to nose, toes to toes, right here, focused in this moment of time. Imagine that energy moving right down through the soles of your feet, sending roots into Mother Earth. Feel the richness of her environment. The moisture, the warmth, the roots of other sister circles. And in this circle, we call in all of those aspects of her creations, especially the crystalline kingdoms, to be partnered with us in this time together. We meet on the sacred ground of sovereignty, cocooned in all the energies of the guardianship circle protocol. With that presence of Gaia, Sophia, Grace as female presences with us. And as our original intention had been to send and broadcast through the crystalline kingdom those codes we choose for our future to manifest, as well as to retrieve codes from the future to anchor in our present. We turn that mission over. We are so welcoming of new information. We also look for in any way that we may be refined in that intention or changed and expanded in that intention. So our circle is set. Vibrational sounds, harmonics, songs, guides, and information is present with us in this field. And so it is. And so let's each presence ourselves into the circle, and we'll just tag ourselves around. This time I'm going to go first. So Sharon Raji Maynard, I'm here on Whidbey Island in Washington State. And I'm in the process of getting my copper pyramid all rejuvenated and the space cleared and designed. And I brought Carol Squire into the mix because she's chose to. And all of a sudden, I've got this huge space that I was only going to do a small space. So I've been recuperating from the weekend watching Carol work while I sat in a chair and drank Gatorade. So I'm excited to see the shifts that are happening in so much of our work of what we've been doing up until now is, and there's a shift, and I don't know what that up until now, where it's going to be from here. But I still know that our presence as the voice of this pyramid moving us forward is really, really critical, and looking forward to see where our travels might take us today. So I am complete, and I'll turn this circle over to Cinda.
I'm Cinda. I'm in just south of Portland, Oregon, and what is just so interesting, I love that this is the Crystal Broadcasters, because I opened up a gift the other day from a friend / client of mine, and she said, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you need to open it. And okay, so I've been reading a book called The Way of the Rose, which is all about the divine feminine and the rosary, and how the rosary is ancient, even before Christianity. It was when people would string roses together in honor of the goddess, and whatever that goddess was throughout time, and they would pray on the buds before they would lay it at her feet. And then the Catholic faith took it upon itself. But either way, it still represents the Divine Mother. So I received a gift in a box yesterday, and the note said, I was participating in this fundraiser, and I had these crystals that were donated to the cause, and these rock formations that were donated to the cause, and they and then they sold, and then she waited for addresses to send out the people who won in the auction these items, and one stone cluster never ever got picked up, ever. And yet this woman didn't feel like it belonged to her, and she felt not like she shouldn't keep it. And then all of a sudden she looked at it again, and she's like, I don't know, what is this? So she took it to a rock expert, and they said, oh, this is a very, very, very special rock. This is so special. It has to have its right owner. It didn't like the energy of the person who bought it. So it was like putting up a barrier. No, I don't want to go home with you. So anyway, she says, I saw it the other day, and I knew that it wasn't meant for me. I've always known it wasn't meant for me, and it just screamed, give me to send it. So she sent it to me. And she wanted to Zoom with me so she could see my expression when I opened it. And she goes, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. Just tell me the energy you get from this crystal cluster. And I looked at it and I said, oh my God, it's the Divine Mother. It's the Divine Mother. And she burst out in glee and just went, oh my God, it's the purest, most divine. And it's called apostolite. It's an apostolite is the name of the stone. And I just want to share it with you because I held it when Sharon was grinding this in. And just see if you can even get, but, okay. Oh, it's not doing it justice, but it looks like a Madonna's body without the head. The head should be right here, but this is a swaddled baby. Let me see if I can bring it more. Oh my God, you can't see it. Oh, I'm so sad. Shoot. But it looks like a baby, you know, a swaddled baby, and there's her body, and there's her. This is so silly that I'm even trying to show you, but it's like an arm holding the baby, and she's so ancient that she doesn't have a head. But oh my God, you guys, if you could see this stone in person, I am just like, just takes my breath away. So anyway, on that note, Susan.
Hi, I am Susan Therese. I'm here in Byron, Illinois in the Midwest. Guess I'm not really sure where I'm at. That's just stunning, Cinda. I can't wait to see where it travels with us today, the energy, especially since we were just talking about the Divine Mother in guardian circles as well. And Lady of Guadalupe came up today. So, you know, that energy is very much present in the crystalline kingdom to see how we travel together. I made a fairy quartz grid today for the new moon and just had a blast creating it and just pulling all sorts of different fun things into it. And so I was working with it all morning and I went out on the deck to do something. I forgot why I was out there. Walked back in the house and I sat down and I was doing some other things and I'm like, well, why were you out there? I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my gosh, the fairy magic. I'm going to have to go roll in the dirt. So kind of trying to bring in that fairy energy this week for the full moon. Our neighbor had a 10-foot unicorn water sprinkler out in their yard. And they had a big old party yesterday. And when it was quiet, I went out to meditate and I look out my gate and there's this massive, unicorn out there. So there's lots of magical energies around me, and I'm trying best to be present and incorporate them and delve into them, and very excited to see where we travel today. I am complete. Arlie.
Hi, I'm Arlie. I am in just across the harbor from Wellington, New Zealand. Those are two really exciting stories. I don't have a good story like that to bring to the circle today, but I'm certainly excited and interested to see where we travel. And I would like to choose Karen.
Well, I'm really happy to be here with all of you. I just found out about this very recently, and I got tingles from it. So I'm really happy that I'm able to be part of the group. I live in Canada, between Montreal and Toronto, and I live north. So I actually live in Canadian Shield country. And there are a lot of crystals in this country. You can actually walk down to the water and you'll see them. They come up through the earth, and there also is a lot of pyrite here too. So and things like apatite crystals. And I'm very drawn to. It's interesting you mentioned the Virgin of Guadalupe, because I'm in another relationship with another woman, and we were talking about that since yesterday. So that's very interesting. That's coming up, and the apatite crystal actually featured in that. And I'm working with speech, so I'm trying to develop speech work with others, different ways of speaking. And I'm thinking that the crystals and the metals will teach us how to speak. I lived in Wellington, Arlie, for a while. It's pretty amazing. The cook's straight. Anyway, thank you, everyone, and I'm complete.
Thank you. One of the things that Karen has headed up is the inquire into the metal kingdom, and what is the metal kingdom wanting to play a role in, and so there's really a I'm sure, an overlap there that who knows what that's going to mean, but something for sure.
I just want to share with Arlie, Punamu.
That's a lovely piece.
Thank you. South Island.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. So what we did last week, which was kind of different because we've been, of course, meeting each week beginning, I don't know, is this our third month? When everything's in the United States started going like really rocking and rolling. So we started to meet online. Before that, we had been doing everything digitally with our own circles in our own, and we continue that process. But we started meeting online. Then we decided things were really rocking. Future really was important to be held, and therefore let's meet every week. And you know what we did. I think we initially held the broadcast for the future, but quickly we also felt to travel into the future to see the future that was calling us, to get codes from that future and a fractal, a symbol for the codes to bring it back and anchor it into the present. And we did that for probably a couple of months, and then the crystalline kingdom says we want to be a participant. We don't want to be just told what to do, what to broadcast. We want to be a participant. So last week, we just do a kind of a guided imagery to go to wherever we're guided, and we just let ourselves be in partnership with each of us individually with that crystalline kingdom energy. We could also be part of the metal kingdom energy, or we could just be the earth energies. Whoever wants to call to us would be what we would be doing in this circle, although we started with crystals, and trust that each of us would be guided somewhere that was important in bringing to pass and bringing a stability as we move into a future space more aligned to our divine nature of all good for all life. So that's kind of a very quick snapshot of what we've done. And we have never said it has to be or look a certain way. We've really been trusting that we've got our circle set. We got our guardian circle in place. We've got teams that we each have worked with in many other venues also that we can trust. And they know where each of us is best taken, asked to speak, to activate, to retrieve information, whatever that might be. And then when we finish our own personal journeys, then we come back, put in our journal so that we remember, and then we share it in the circle in order to anchor it together into the present moment. So if any of you have an idea, you want to add something to that or change it, or whatever is emerging for you in relationship to what we're doing or what we have done, I'm going to step off the field and just whatever is up.
What do you want us to talk about, Sharon? You just want us?
No, if there was anything up, anything that was emerging, maybe adding to it or changing it in any way, that's just kind of what we've been doing, where we're at now, which gives us a lot of flexibility and freedom. But if there's anything any of you feel to add in any way.
Well, I think we talked about in the Guardian Circle about the resources being stripped in mind, and maybe bringing that into the crystal field and seeing where their presence, where they feel their resources might be being stolen at and under the dark of night, as they said that the other resources were taken. So maybe just a protective addition to that, making sure that those places stay free from outsiders.
Mhm. Or hearing from them what they need.
Right, right. Exactly.
And that was specifically in relationship to Africa. But since all of our work is done, one kernel is the surrogate for the whole, it wouldn't be exclusively for Africa. But that was the minerals in the African community that said this is the big problem. And again, I'm going to just reaffirm that whatever it is done in, or this group is done for every group on the planet in, with that similar situation. Thanks, Susan.
Well, Susan, wasn't it also Alaska that you were?
Oh, in Alaska, true, that's true.
Alaska, yes, Pebble Mine was, as a matter of fact, it came up on the news feed that the proclamation was signed this morning, giving the mining company the rights to go in and devastate that area.
I can't believe that. Oh,
Back the word proclamation. How can we turn that on its head?
Right. There you go. Absolutely. Language again.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about changing words and changing language and interpretation, those proclamations that, the government has no right to make on public land.
Right. Yeah.
Most
of it probably tribal land. Karen?
I'd like to add another place to that it's been coming to me lately, and that's the Mont Saint Hilaire and Mont Saint Bruno near Montreal. These were set aside as preserves back in the early 1900s, and then that continued in the 70s. Since then, it has been discovered that these are very rare volcanic magma extrusions. There are a lot of what are called rare earth minerals there, and those are very much coveted by the high-tech industry. And so what we're seeing very slowly is that the protections are being eroded.
Okay.
There are literally, at Mont Saint Hilaire, there are 85 discovered crystal families that have been never seen anywhere else in the world.
Wow.
So, and of course they could be somewhere else and they just haven't been seen. But this is a very, it would be coveted, but it also is a wonderful resource for humanity and for the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad we've got those on the table. Now let's see. There's a lot about taking back. That's really important. Taking back. So like for example, here's a proclamation, and then we go like this. Well, it's done. No, it's not done. Let's us take the energy of the proclamation and put it a different direction. Just like we did with the word God. Take back the word God. Don't avoid it. Everybody's saying it. Lots of people are saying it. They're using it for. Okay, so what are we defining and declaring that word means? Grace of the divine. So there's a lot about taking back in addition to protecting and broadcasting new that we can do, because when you understand energy, working with it in mastery partnership, you will determine the outcome. You will determine the outcome. But when we go like, oh, somebody claimed it, okay, darn. No, wait a minute. Energy, how does energy work? The one who can work in mastery with energy, and those minerals are calling to us, and we can work with them in mastery. We may not know the steps, we may not know how, but we can say, we're here, show us. Okay. So good, I'm glad I opened the floor because I'd forgotten about those. I didn't know about the one in Montreal. Anything else before we get started? Okay, so I'll just do a little guided imagery to get you on your journey. Most of you will probably be there before I start, but that's okay. And then we'll give ourselves, once we're there, maybe 5 minutes at least, and I'll watch. If you're finished before 5 or you need longer than 5, then that will be okay too. Okay? So here we go. Oh, so breathe again. Breathe in that energy recalibrated through the sun. It has all possibility there. There is no limit. And it is your ability to imagine that forms things, that causes cultures to thrive, to bring good for all. That energy contains all of the possibilities. We are anchored here in this sacred space of sovereignty. We are within a network of crystal broadcasters who are here in spirit with their teams. And we are hearing the call and responding to the call of other creations of Mother Earth, the crystalline kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and whatever others need our voice for their good. We are here. Just get a sense of that energy of the circle holding you. And as you walk from the circle, notice the path that opens for you, the direction it takes, the companions there with you. The qualities that you feel from them and your path. They know exactly where you are most needed, and they walk you there, move you there with respect, with lightness, with total security. Notice where you land, what opens for you. And when you are complete with what you're called to experience and activate or encapsulate to bring back, you can bring yourself back to your home, your present moment place. And until then, travel with love.
Not discovered yet. There are lots of new crystals that haven't made themselves known to us yet. And they are awakening, they're talking to each other, they're connecting. They've kind of been waiting. They were in contact with each other, but they weren't actively communicating and awakening each other, which they are starting to do now, or doing more now. Then I was shown huge, giant crystals, the ones with perfect points, like the one that's in Hawaii that's like 3 or 4 feet tall. And I've been to museums and I've seen these perfect crystal points in museums captured under glass and lit up by special lights. And in the past, when I've been there, I could feel them, but I also felt that they were kind of trapped because they're cut off from the earth. And I was just told, no, 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 no. We are here. We are strong. And we are sending out stronger beacons, the awakening idea again. Not that they were ever dead and shut down, but they're doing more of it now. Then, okay, a lot of untapped power there. Then I was reminded that each little grain of a crystal has the power of the whole. The tiny bit is the whole thing. And I was told the people are spreading crystals where they never have gone before by digging up these mines and using these crystals for coatings and solar panels and computer chips, and even on, I think it was a grinder of some kind. The crystals are being spread into homes and around the world where they have never been before. They're going everywhere. And since the little bit is a piece of the whole, they can all still talk to each other. So I just got overjoyed and hopeful and happy. I mean, like a resonating glow of happiness. And they said something along the lines of, my child, even salt has a crystalline structure. And I was just like, I don't know, I'm really happy. I feel positive. I think it's a real message of hope. And that there's a huge plan here. Yeah, there's a huge plan here. And it's a good thing. And I am done. Let's see, how about Karen, since you triggered me?
Well, the Punamu triggered me too. So the Punamu here that I have was given to me as I was living in New Zealand with a particular group of people. So I've worn it ever since 2014. I've never taken it off. Anyway, the Punamu, I held it as we went into the meditation, and the Punamu said to me, "You were given. I was given to you in love and friendship." And then I just sat with that for a while, and then it seemed that the Punamu was directing me to other crystals, and with which it was in love and friendship. There was definitely a sort of a light but very strong energy moving through, and the energy gave the appearance like an arrow. But the arrow had veins in it. It was like it had veins, so it was almost like it had blood in it, or was a living thing. And I saw these as currents running through the earth, crystal currents. And when I was north of the equator, in general, the currents were red running through green. And then when I went south of the equator, which is where Punamu is from, it was green. It was red through green in the south, sorry, and then it was green through red in the north. And the currents revealed, writing this down, they said to me, these currents are revealed in the oceans. And I asked them, what are you doing? And they said, we're communicating to one another in love and friendship. And I asked them, why are you doing that? And they said, we do this to allow you to breathe on this planet. So that you are not eaten by the sun. And then they said, it was very important for me to be looking at aligning myself to these currents in my sleep. The quality of sleep was very important, and that they would be communicating these currents through sleep. And so somehow I have yet to determine. I asked them, does that mean I have to lie in a particular direction? I didn't really get anything clear about that. So we'll see. That was most of the message. So I'm complete now, and I'm going to ask Susan to share.
Well, they waited for a little bit, and I wasn't really sure what direction, but boy, I could just feel that love and brightness and support and that friendship energy, as Arlie talked about this bright plan of communication. And then they took me off to up to Alaska, and they put when you talked about those perfect shaped crystals, perfect point crystals. There were Vogel crystals, and they set up a grid all around this protected area, and then they put a capstone, crystalline capstone at the top of the points, and the capstone is to broadcast a new proclamation. It's broadcasting, no harm shall come to the richness and resources of Gaia. The crystalline and Delvic kingdoms shall decree a call for protection to all natural land and water resources from all parasitic energies, greed, hoarding, and destruction. And so this capstone just lit up and started broadcasting this frequency of just divine love, that it's protected by that frequency of divine love now. And it's connecting to all the other crystals and letting them know that they are now protected in this capstone of love and light. And so it'll be interesting to watch how this movement, if they're allowed to even start this project, because I could see them moving in inner earth, moving and blocking certain areas that they won't be able to work in, that there'll be some reason, they showed like equipment failure and just all sorts of roadblocks for them to start this project now that this capstone. And then, Sharon, I kept thinking of your pyramid in your backyard, this capstone and its frequency connecting into, that broadcast field. So I am complete. Cinda.
So Sharon had asked me what the name of the stone was, and I need to look at the card that she sent me, but I think she called it apostolite, but I did a search and it doesn't exist. So so I don't know, but I think it's pretty appropriate for what I'm working on. So, oh my God, Arlie, so I have often wondered when we buy crystals and when we take them home, we usually are drawn to certain crystals. And then I've often wondered if we were part of the problem, if there isn't, especially if we hoard or if we keep or if we don't let these crystals see the light of day, or we don't work with them, or even if we do work with them, are we depleting the earth of her children? I've often wondered. But after listening to what you said, I had some insight into maybe it was the plan all along that this was the way, because you are so right? One crystal is attached to its mother crystal, which is attached to its sister crystals. That why not? You pray on one, and even Sharon was saying this at the beginning. It feeds all of them. It feeds the entire crystal kingdom. And then Karen, I have a very, very dear friend that is part of the Maori tribe. Her father was some very important man within the Maori culture, and she has gifted me blessed stones of that green stone. I have a bracelet and I have a pendant that I have sort of in a sacred place that I keep. So this is just fascinating that Arlie and you are talking about those stones. I'd kind of forgotten about them, so there's a reason that it's there. Okay, so my meditation, I'm sitting there and I'm like going nowhere, but man, it felt so good to just close my eyes. And I thought, well, what are we doing? And help, let's go someplace, let's do something. And I just saw the beautiful divine energy of Grace. And she said, it's just so simple. And she's just sort of floating and flying above. And the Grace that I have seen so many times has this like opalescent blanket trailing from her arms, almost like an extended wing. It's almost could be like the Milky Way. But she says, all we need to do is hide, lay the blanket like an invisibility cloak over all of the places where we need to protect or save. And the message was, there's nothing to see here, turn around. There's nothing to see here, turn around. So I went to Alaska, and I went to New Zealand, and I went to Canada, and anywhere else. And I just said, Grace, you know where these places are. Let's lay the cloak over all of those places. So if there's any testing that's done or any mining, they come out with nothing, right? Let's disguise let's disguise it for its value. Let's have them think, what were we thinking? Why here? Because basically there's nothing to see here. So then I would also, if there were already places that were being pillaged, I would insert myself, and then I freeze framed, and I brought in the PTO and tagged and transformed and sent that away. And then again, I sort of all of a sudden had this image of guards that were protecting the right for them to mine the land, so they look like SWAT teams, but they weren't protecting, they were trying to keep people out. But I inserted myself to the inside, and so they turned and they faced me. And so there'd be this sacred spot where the mining was happening, and all of these SWAT teams with their riot gear on. And I asked Grace, how do we fight this? And she goes, there's always space in between. There is always space in between. And I realized that when they're standing there with their legs spread and their shields up, all I have to do is walk up, and I can put one foot between their legs and on the outside of their legs. And there's always space in between. And so I was inserting my feet, like this to their feet. And then it was just so easy to move them aside. And so it just tore the barriers down and the PTO teams, and to just protect and protect. But I think that there's something really important about blessing the stones and having that blessing carry throughout all the stones. So that's amazing. I'm done. Sharon.
The first thing for me was the proclamation, and I saw the signature on the proclamation, and it was like pulled like a string, like you're just removing a string from the embroidery hoop, the signature, the power of it was gone. And then I said, what we do with the proclamation? They said, just crumble it and burn it, turn it into the fire, let the fire take care of it. So let the fire burn it, let the water wash clean that intention, and let the air breathe what is new to come in. So that we did that, and then we just put in place we're reclaiming this land. We're reclaiming the entire earth, and it belongs to those who are life forms from the divine, which is all life form. And then we used freeze framed in some of the situations, just said it's not going anywhere as it's dismantled. And then I really felt to do some time travel, and because what's causing, what is the cause? We got to get to the cause. This is like snipping off buds, which is important, but it's not the answer. And so they took me back 600,000 years ago, which in my model, the Neanderthals were very close to that first inhabitants from our divine families. So that's 600,000 years ago. And I said, well, I don't recall that the outsiders were active. They were present, but they were more like observers back then. And they said, that's true. They were observers, but they were also making plans. They knew the richness of what was here. And so they were making plans that they could implement at an instant. That's why when there was a misstep, the plans were ready to be implemented. They were making plans. So I could see that there was those 9 original family groups, and they were making plans of because they owned us at that point. They owned our energy. There was no doubt about it. But since then, here in the future, we've eliminated the ownership. We've eliminated them, and so they don't stand with roots anymore. So I said, guess what, guys? You don't own us. And they looked back to see, their roots and their foundation, and it was like they were not, nothing was there, and they were on rocky soil. And indeed, they had no leg to stand on, if you will. But it was interesting because instead of just having the PTO teams take these families, and these are ingrained families, these are the ingrained families who parceled out from them. They parceled out to a lot of others that we've really, done a lot to move back to their home of origin. These 9 families are the core of, and they didn't, I said they put them in shackles because they would not adhere to our authority, but they had no authority. So it wasn't to punish, but it was like they were so rigid, they were so frozen in their we own. They were so rigid in we own. I've never seen an outsider like that. And it was okay, because it's not about a fight, it's about the truth, and they don't own us, and they have no leg to stand on. They literally put them in shackles in order to move them. It's like they had to move them as a solid block, and they didn't move them back to their home of origin because they were too toxic. So they moved these 9 groups into it's like they said, I said, what would you call this place? And it's not like a prison. They said it's more like a mental health ward with padded padding around, so that until they get worked out of themselves, this rigidity and this, until they wake up, they will be protected. We will take good care of them, but we can't let them be back with their kind right now. They're just beyond hope for that group. That would be real. So that was interesting. I'd never seen that before. And so we got that all cleared out so that new energy can come forward in order to really strengthen that we own. Minerals speak to us. They speak to each other. We're in this together. And it's like all those plans that each of us were shown, it's like all we need to do here in this circle is say, yes, we activate them. We activate them. We were shown the plans, but those other kingdoms don't have the power of word. They're not in a physical body. They were not given that assignment. We were. So we activate them. And the other thing that I found really interesting in relationship to Cinda, as you were sharing, I want to kind of go over this because I still find it incredibly important, and the gift of the rose, and talking about every time, and if I say this incorrectly, certainly correct me, Cinda, but throughout history, whenever the earth was really in danger, that the symbol of Mother Mary in some form showed up. And as we were chatting about it in another circle, it was that symbol of Mother Mary, or Sophia, which is the power to discern and speak, to say no to what's destroying. And I think the reason that these crystalline kingdoms can wake up, the reason many new things can emerge, is because there's enough of us in a physical female body who are saying in one form or another, no more PTO. I mean, we're not all saying PTO, but we are with various voices using our discernment, which is that Sophia energy, which I also equate as a Mother Earth energy, or not Gaia, but that energy that says we discern and we choose and we say no destruction any longer. And so I think there's confirmations that say we're doing a good job. We're in the right place at the right time. And that's my complete. So open up the floor if there's any.
Well, Susan wrote a different name for the stone down, and I just did a search, and it's very similar to what I found here. And the meaning of the stone is like, there are many temples dedicated to the healing and enlightenment of the earth and her children. The kingdom of heaven is spread out over the earth and men do not see it. So anyway, I put a link here for one of the pictures that kind of looked the most like it had this link. I don't know if this is the best link, but I don't know. It's just all so interesting.
That's beautiful. Thank you, guys. Susan's got something.
We all know my love for large pieces of crystal. So this is the same crystal, I believe, and that's what made me think of it. I got this piece in a little shop in Dixon, Illinois, and my grandson Hendrix has laid claim to it. If anything happens to me, he says this is his. He is in love with it. He's 13 years old. When he comes to the house, he puts his hand over it. He moves it from where I have it on the crystal table, and he puts it next to his bed on the bedstand where he sleeps at night. So this is Hendrix's apophyllite, but it's a beautiful piece of raw stone. And she's just, in the sunlight, she's just magnificent. She truly just sends out that brilliant. It's almost like a little popcorn.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think that this is, it has the back shell, right. And then it just has the grown crystals, but it has a little, what is that called, dursite or something, when they're small little.
Yep.
It hasn't quite developed as much as yours, but then it has some bigger ones. Oh my gosh, I think you're right. I think that's it. Of course, I heard apostle.
Well, exactly. Well, and you can't, remember that no labels.
Right, that's right.
If it has that energy, and it shall be that.
I just wanted to share too that one of the images that came up with this green going through red and the red going through green, it was like it was making a wheel all around the earth. And then it popped into my head as we were talking about roses, that over the last several months I've been researching what's called the rose wheel. So I don't know if they're connected or not, but anyway, just sharing that because it seems there was a connection there. I love that apophyllite.
Apophyllite, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be like you're running my hand.
Okay, great, really good work, and then we'll see you next Monday, unless we see you another time before Monday. Okay, thanks everyone for being here.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Welcome, Karen. Welcome.
Welcome, Karen.
Thank you for your welcome. I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Oh, we're glad you're here.
Good to see you, Karen. Yay.
Thanks, Karen.